Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one I've actually got quite a special beer saved for you since this is my 450th review. So this beer is half Danish and half Japanese, hence why I'm wearing red and white, the colours of both nations' flags. But we're going to do a beer that is a collaboration between Mikkeller, who are of course the famous Danish gypsy craft brewery from Copenhagen, and North Island Beer, who are from Sapporo on the island of Hokkaido in Japan. So this beer is called Haskap Blond, and this is very interesting, this one, because it contains the Haskap fruit, which is native to Hokkaido, and it was a one-off collaboration brew released in March or February of 2015 between Mikkeller and North Island. So it's a one-off beer that I'm not sure you're going to be able to find again, but obviously it's a very cool beer because it has this local fruit in it. But as I always would do with my Japanese reviews, I want to dedicate this one to my lady Michiko Ozaki, and also give a shout out to my good friend Lee Katayama in Osaka in Japan, who showed me a lot of the cool craft beer places over there. And I also want to give a shout out to my friend Scott Bowersock in Hawaii in Japan, who loves these Japanese beers too. So a big shout out and thank you to all of you for this review. So as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very kind of brief history of the two breweries here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The history is only 2 or 3 minutes though, so I hope you'll stick with me for it. The brewery websites are in the video descriptions for you below. There's an English translated version of the North Island one there too, so do check that out, and you will also find links in the video description to my other reviews from North Island Beer and also from Mikkeller. But this is the very first time I'm actually trying a beer from North Island Brewery, so hopefully there's many more to come. But anyway, to tell you firstly about North Island Beer. North Island Beer is brewed by SOC Brewing at its brewery in the suburbs of the city of Sapporo on the island of Hokkaido, which is in northern Japan. But the brewery was founded by two beer-loving friends who actually trained as brewers in Canada, and they began brewing their beer at the Higashiku region in Sapporo City in 2003, but they hoped to create a popular Hokkaido craft beer when they started out the brewery, and they have actually succeeded. They're very well known on the island of Hokkaido now, and they're starting to build a name for themselves on the other regions of Japan as well. But the brewery relocated to Ibetsu City in 2009, and this year they also opened up their own beer bar, which is called Beer Bar North Island, and you'll find that located in Sapporo as well. At any one time, this bar has 8 different beers available on tap to try. Usually they've got their 6 regular beers and 2 special edition brews, but you can also get tours of their little brewery and also participate in the brewing as well. And the current head brewer at North Island Beer is Takayuki Tsutsumino. I couldn't actually find the names of the 2 founders of the brewery, but Takayuki Tsutsumino seems to be the head brewer, so he might well be one of them. But as I say, check out the brewery website if you want to find out some more information. But to list the beers that you can get from North Island Beer, these are their 6 regular beers. You have the Pilsner, the Brown Ale, the Weizen Stout, the India Pale Ale, and also the Coriander Black. So these are the 6 regular beers that you will get on tap at the Beer Bar North Island, and as I told you, they do have 2 different kind of special edition ones available at any one time. So that's North Island Beer for you. Just to tell you a little quick bit about Mikkeller, I've done many of these reviews before, so it will be quite short. Mikkeller, of course, are the famous Danish gypsy brewery who were founded by Christian Keller and Mikkel Bjergso. They are now run exclusively by Bjergso, who actually used to be a teacher. And again, these guys are very influenced by the American craft beer movement, and they basically started out as the homebrewing experimentations of Christian and Mikkel, and it grew from there. But they don't have their own brewery as such because they are a gypsy brewery, and so they brew at a variety of host breweries, mainly in the USA, Norway, Scotland and in Belgium. Most of their beer is actually brewed at the De Proef Brouwerij in Locriste Hyfte in Belgium, which isn't too far away from the city of Ghent. But their home base as such is the Mikkeller bar in Copenhagen, and they also have a collaborative bar with Toul, whose founders are actually former students of Mikkel. And again, they're a hugely experimental brewery, and to date they've brewed well over 800 different beers. It must be getting close to the 1,000 mark now, but they do produce about 80 different beers a year, so a lot of interesting things come out of Mikkeller. And very recently as well, they also opened up their new bar in Reykjavik with Toyo, so there's another Mikkeller and Friends bar over there, and they have opened up a bar called War Pigs with 3 Floyds from America too, so very interesting things going on with Mikkeller. But without further ado, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So this guy is a 6.6% fruit beer, and I'll just bring up the can camera and let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. So as you can see, it has the typical Mikkeller style of artwork there. You can see the sort of special badge there that they've done for the collaboration that says North Island on this side and then Mikkeller on the other one there. So it's actually really nicely presented. I do quite like the typical Mikkeller artwork. It's just a plain bottle cap on this one, and as you can see, there's all the Japanese writing, the hiragana and the katakana on the back there, and also maybe some kanji as well. But you can see actually there's this little symbol for Hokkaido. As I told you, Hokkaido is the northern island of Japan, hence the name North Island Beer. But there's also contact details on the back too. But I'm definitely going to keep this bottle because it's quite a special one and it's a one-off brew, so I definitely will keep this one. So as I told you, this guy is a 6.6% fruit beer. I'll just tell you a little bit about the fruit as well. So Haskap was added to the beer upon the suggestion of Mikkel Bjergso that it would be quite cool to use a produce native to Hokkaido in the collaboration beer that they were going to do. So Haskap is mainly found in Hokkaido but also in eastern Siberia and Russia, and the actual name Haskap is derived from the Ainu language, which is the language of the Hokkaido native tribes. So the Latin name for the fruit is actually Lonicera caerulea, which literally translated into English translates as blueberried honeysuckle, but the berry actually looks like a regular blueberry, but it's a lot more sour in flavour, and apparently in Russia the Haskap is known as the honeyberry. So this beer should be really quite interesting, and I've heard some very interesting things about it from my friends in Japan. So without further ado, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. So as I told you, it's 6.6% fruit beer. It uses a Belgian yeast strain as well, and it was released as a one-off collaboration brew in March 2015. So let's get this guy cracked open and we'll get on with the tasting here. Oh, didn't want to open there, a bit of a weird edge on this beer. So there you are. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with it. So as you can see, actually it's pouring a really quite interesting kind of dark purpley pinkish colour. It's never actually, I don't think I've ever had a beer that was that colour apart from perhaps the Tokyo Blossom beer, which of course was one that had lots of kind of fruit petals or flower petals and stuff added to it. But as you can see, it's poured a really kind of interesting pinkish purpley red colour actually. It almost looks a bit like a kind of fruit juice, to be honest with you. So it has a finger of a kind of frothy kind of pinkish coloured head actually. It's a kind of pinkish white colour head there. As you can see, if I put my fingers behind it, it isn't transparent at all. It's completely hazy, but it looks very, very nice. You can see the colour there if I put it right under the light. It's a very kind of almost a kind of red grape juice colour actually, but not quite as dark as that. Maybe sort of raspberry juice or something like that. That's the kind of colour you're getting from this guy. There is some carbonation visible just going up towards the bottom of the head there, but there are some bigger bubbles just sticking towards the side of the glass. But it looks a very, very nice beer. So let's just put the light back down a little bit and we can get on with the tasting of this one. So in terms of the aroma with this guy, it's actually quite an interesting aroma, as you would expect. So it's very, very fruity, but you can definitely pick up the sort of Belgian yeasty strains underneath this one. There's a big bready and yeasty character just underneath it, and maybe a little bit of caramel sweetness, but you can pick up just a little bit of grassy hop in this one too. But it's got quite a tart kind of berry aroma on top of this, and it's almost like a kind of mix of raspberry and blueberry, I think. I drink a lot of fruit juice, so I'm actually quite good these days at telling you what the different fruits are. But I want to say there's a little bit of kind of raspberry and blueberry in there, and perhaps even a little bit of cherry. There is a kind of more cherryish note to this, but it's quite tart and you can kind of pick it up as a little bit of a fruit beer as well. So it kind of smells very, very nice, and as you can see, the head is maintaining quite well in that very frothy and very smooth head. But a very nice kind of tart berry fruit aroma there, some raspberry, blueberries, a little bit of cherry, but underneath that you really can smell the Belgian yeast, and there's a little bit of caramelly sweetness in there too. So without further ado, this is the Haskap Blond, a special one-off collaboration from March 2015 between Mikkeller and the North Island Brewery in Hokkaido in Japan, and it's actually brewed in Japan as well. So for this one, Slanja. That is actually Very, very interesting. You've got this big, on the first impression, you get this big bready mouthfeel, but then you've just got this tart fruit flavour on top of it, so you just need to let your mouth adjust with this one a little bit. And on that first sip of the aftertaste, you can kind of taste the bready and yeasty character coming out, so definitely an interesting beer, this one. Yeah. It actually comes across as your kind of typical sour beer, and the mouthfeel and in the kind of profile of the flavour, it is actually quite like that, but of course the fruit flavour is quite unique. But much like the aroma, it is kind of somewhere between a raspberry and a blueberry, but it's actually quite a bit more sour. As I was telling you about the flavour of this beer, it does have a big kind of sour, tarty character to it, so it's quite interesting there. Yeah, around the edges of the tongue you get this big juicy flavour in here, and it is that just the Haskap fruit. It's quite hard to describe for you because you're not going to taste another fruit like it, but I want to say it's somewhere between a kind of raspberry and a blueberry, if you like, but it is just a little bit more kind of sharp and tart than you would expect from those fruits. Usually the raspberry and blueberry characters are kind of nice and smooth and just juicy fruits. This one has a lot more of a kind of sharpness to it, so you will see what I mean when I talk about the tart and the tart fruit and sharpness if you ever do get to try this beer. Yeah, it's definitely got the sort of acidity and tart flavours that you would expect from a sour beer. But Mikkeller, I've had some other Mikkeller ones, and there was the Totul Garden of Eden, which had a lot of fruit to it. If you've tried that beer, which is probably quite common about the time that you're going to see this review, that it actually is quite similar in the mouthfeel to that. It's got that nice juicy fruit character there, but as I say, it does come across with a little bit of a sour beer characteristic just because of the kind of sharpness of the flavours of the Haskap fruit in there. So very, very interesting and very nice beer. So if you do try it, just take a little bit of time and kind of appreciate the flavours that you're getting out of this one. But yeah, as I describe it to you, around the edges of the tongue you're getting that nice kind of half blueberry, half raspberry flavour in there, but it's a lot sharper and a lot more tart in there. But there's not really a cherry kind of flavour as I was picking up from the aroma. It really is a more sharp berry flavour and tartness and acidity that you're getting out of this. But underneath of that you get a nice kind of big bready blanket that just goes right over the tongue. There's some nice kind of sweet yeasty character too, and I want to say there is just a little bit of biscuity character that comes out as you move more into the aftertaste. The aftertaste of this one is actually quite dry. The front of your tongue will feel very, very dry, and there is perhaps a lingering little bit of grassy hop just around there once the fruit subsides a little bit, but it's mainly a kind of big bready blanket with a little bit of biscuity sweetness coming out of it too. So it's quite an interesting beer. You've got two kind of extremes of this, a nice smooth bready malt base in there, just a little bit of lingering grassy hop in the flavour, but then you've got the really sharp flavours from the Haskap fruit, as I say, kind of halfway between raspberry and blueberry, but just a little bit more tart. So very, very interesting beer indeed, this one. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say it's quite light to mid-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth, but it does have a little bit of a more kind of spritzy feel to it as well, and that helps bring out the sort of tart flavours of the beer, if you like. It does have a very sharp, fruity tart character, almost like a sour beer actually, but underneath it does have a kind of quite Belgian-y characteristic with that big yeasty malt character in there. But it's got a good kind of dryness to it as well, and as you progress in that, like I say, you do get more of the grassy flavours coming out, but it's particularly dry around the front edges of the tongue there, which is quite interesting. So overall, you've got a really nice, interesting beer here, and it's very, very well done, I have to admit. It's a very interesting beer to have tried, and I always like trying beers that have these kind of native fruits added to them. I really enjoy the Hello My Name Is series from Brewdog, so it's really cool to have actually picked up one from Japan that has one of their native fruits in it. There was the Konnichiwa Kitsune, which had one of the Japanese fruits in it too, and then there's this guy that has the Haskap in it. So very interesting to try these beers, and as I say, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. So if you do happen to have tried this beer yourself, Please let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this beer review, and thank you once again to me, Chico, Lee and Scott, and I will catch you soon with my next beer review. Slàinte for now.